You are listening to The Soul's Quiet Call, written by Akumah and voiceover by Sara.
Akumah Audiobooks.
Chapter 24, The Storm Within. The rain had been falling steadily for hours, a soft but persistent tapping against the windows of Meera's shop. It wasn't the kind of storm that made you want to hide under the covers, but the kind that pressed its weight on your chest, filling the air with a sense of inevitability. Meera stood by the counter, the floral arrangements scattered before her, but her mind was elsewhere. She had learned to quiet her thoughts, to let the flowers guide her, but today, they refused to stay still. Today, her thoughts were sharp, her heart heavy with the tension that had been building between her and Aarav. Something had shifted between them, a silent rift that neither of them had addressed. After the warmth they had found in their last conversation, the days since had felt colder, distant. Aarav had withdrawn again, not physically, but emotionally. And Meera, for all her intuition, for all the insights she had gained from her gift, had no idea how to bridge the gap that had suddenly opened between them. She had tried. She had tried to reach out, to understand, but there was always something just out of her reach, something he wasn't saying, something he was holding back. The words had been left unsaid, and now, the silence between them was louder than any conversation. A sudden movement at the door startled her, and she looked up to see Aarav standing in the threshold, rainwater glistening on his coat, his face unreadable. The moment stretched between them, an unsaid conversation hanging in the air. "Meera," he said softly, his voice almost drowned out by the sound of the storm outside. "Hey," she said, the simple word carrying the weight of everything she couldn't put into speech. She motioned for him to come in. "It's been a while." He nodded, stepping inside, but he didn't come any closer. His gaze lingered on her, but there was something in his eyes that made her breath catch, a quiet fear, an uncertainty that hadn't been there before. "Are you okay?" Meera asked, the words slipping out before she could stop them. She saw the way his face tightened, the way he shifted uncomfortably under her gaze. It was as though he were trying to hide something. Something that, for once, he couldn't conceal. "I don't know," Aarav admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. He finally stepped toward her, but the distance between them still felt vast. "I've been thinking a lot, Meera. About us. About everything." Meera's chest tightened. She had felt it. The distance between them had grown, a slow, creeping tension that neither of them had addressed. "And what have you been thinking?" Aarav took a deep breath, looking down at his hands as if they held the answers. "I've been scared," he said, his words hanging in the air like a confession. "I've been terrified of losing myself in this. In you." Meera's heart sank. She had thought that maybe he had been pulling away because of something he didn't want to face, but she hadn't expected this. She hadn't expected him to say that. "I'm not asking you to lose yourself, Aarav," she said quietly, her voice trembling with the weight of her own emotions. "I'm not asking you to be anyone other than who you are. But I need to understand. I need to understand why you keep pulling away." His eyes met hers, and in that moment, everything inside him seemed to crumble. "I don't know how to love without losing myself. I don't know how to love you without feeling like I'll disappear. I've been running from this. Running from you. And I can't do it anymore, Meera." The words hit her like a wave, knocking the breath out of her. She had known something was wrong, but this truth was deeper than anything she had imagined. Aarav had been fighting his own battle, one he hadn't shared with her until now. She stepped closer to him, her hand reaching out instinctively. "Aarav," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You don't have to be afraid. I'm not trying to take you away. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I just need you to be real with me." His eyes filled with pain, and he closed his eyes as if he couldn't bear to face her. But I'm not perfect. And I'm afraid that if I give you all of me, there won't be enough left for me. I don't know how to love without breaking myself in the process. Meera's heart ached for him, but it was also filled with something else, something unexpected. She had always known the power of her gift, the way it allowed her to see into others, to feel their emotions. But in that moment, she realized it had kept her from truly seeing him. Her gift, once a crutch, had now become a barrier. She had seen so much of Aarav, his pain, his regrets, his fears, but she had never truly asked him to show it to her, to share it willingly. And now, for the first time, she understood that she couldn't carry him. She couldn't carry them both. He had to choose to let her in, and she had to choose to let him be who he was, without expectation. I've seen it all, Aarav, she said, her voice steady, her heart finally clear. I've seen your pain, your fear, your regrets. And I've carried them, thinking I could fix them. But I can't fix you, and I don't want to. I just want to be here with you. I just want to understand, to be with you without trying to change you. Aarav looked at her, his eyes searching hers for something, some sign that she wasn't just saying the words, but truly meaning them. He took a step toward her, his face etched with emotion. You don't need to fix me. You never did. I've been afraid of letting you in because I'm scared I'll lose myself. But maybe I've already lost myself by pushing you away. Meera's hand reached up, gently cupping his cheek. The touch was soft, but it held everything she needed to say. Then let's start over, she whispered. Not as two broken people trying to heal each other, but as two whole people who are choosing to walk through this together. The storm outside intensified, but inside the shop, everything felt still. The air was thick with the weight of their words, the unspoken truth that had finally come to light. Aarav's hand trembled as it reached for hers. I'm not perfect, Meera. I'll never be perfect. But if you can accept that, then maybe, just maybe, I can start to let go of the past. Let go of the fear. Meera nodded, her eyes filled with a quiet resolve. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be you. For a long moment, they stood there, facing each other, the storm outside raging in the distance, but the storm inside them began to settle. The truth had come crashing in, but in its wake, there was clarity. Aarav leaned in, his lips brushing hers in a kiss that was tender, uncertain, but full of promise. It wasn't a kiss that solved everything, but it was a kiss that acknowledged the truth. Acknowledged the storm that had passed and the calm that had followed. I'm here, Meera, he whispered against her lips. I'm here. And I'm not running anymore. She smiled through the tears that welled in her eyes, her heart swelling with something deep and quiet. Neither am I. In that moment, everything shifted. The past, with all its scars and shadows, had been faced. And together, they stood on the precipice of something new. Not perfect, not complete, but whole in their imperfection. And for the first time in a long time, Meera felt as though the storm within had passed. The future, uncertain as it was, felt possible. And she was ready to face it, with him.
Akumah Audiobooks.
Refer to the channel playlist for a better experience and close your eyes to let your imagination run wild. Subscribe.